Hi, welcome everyone. It's Monday morning, another peaceful and safe weekend, I hope, for all. I am really pleased to have a panel of young leaders with me today to really talk about their experience, about their own role on GSA's or the Graduate Student Association or the University of Melbourne's Council, but also their own experience having been a participant in one of our innovative and impressive leadership program called LEAD. So before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we virtually meet, pay my respect to the past, present, and emerging leaders, and all the Aboriginal and Torres Strait community members across Australia. So before I move on to my first panelist, who is going to be here with us only for a short time, I'd like to ensure that we welcome the three panelists: Emily Roberts, the president of GSA, Eliza and Sach, our two council members. Sach is the GSA vice president and played a very important role in the policy development and strategic planning of GSA during the time that I've been here as a CEO. And along with me, we have Eliza, a new council member, but the council member for a very important women's affairs portfolio. I think it's called as GSA Women's Officer. So welcome on board to all of you. And my name is Rachna Muddagouni. So welcome on board. The format for today would be, we have some questions for our four leaders, and following that, or the three leaders, and following that we have Tevita Lesuma, who is our general manager for student engagement, who will talk to me about what LEAD was and how it was innovated, how it was ranked for the 2 years, and I may share some ideas about what leadership program into the future we are planning with LEAD in 2020 and 2021. So welcome on board, Sach.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sach, I understand that I think it would be appropriate to call you Sacheta, is Sach, and I've always called her Sach, so I apologize if that's not a preferred name. But Sach, you've had an incredible journey at GSA, and Sach's term finishes in May. We'll be very, very sad to miss her from the council and as a GSA valued participant. I was just wanting to know a little bit about your role currently at GSA. Would you be able to update and tell us a little bit about what your role is currently at GSA?
Yeah, of course. So it's definitely been a long journey with GSA, but currently I'm vice president of GSA, and there are a few kind of elements a part of that role, including firstly helping out with President Emily and General Secretary Madeline with kind of stakeholder work and high-level engagement with council. And then following that, I also have a representation role in particular with grad groups. And so that usually involves working with the grad group team, the staff team, to determine, I guess, the strategic following of grad groups and how they're going. We do have over 140 grad groups at GSA, and it does generally grow each year. So they play a really key part with GSA, and having experience with a grad group, I bring that kind of knowledge into the work. And then finally, a part of my role that we all do, but one that I particularly like, is governance work. So in the last year or so, I've been able to help out with council's policy platforms, so determining our advocacy stances, and then also helping out with the strategic plan. So working out the priorities with both council and staff, which is important for the next 5 years.
Wow, that sounds really exciting, Sach. I mean, a very variety of, role that is kind of, and you're doing your master's in public policy currently, aren't you?
Yeah, that's correct, public policy management. So I've been able to utilize some of the skills, particularly research, writing, and policy knowledge into the work, which is a great compliment, actually.
Fantastic. So, Sasha, I kind of think these words, I mean, I guess I'm just trying to track back your journey into this platform that you've landed up with, and this wonderful role that I mean, my own experience with having worked with you, being a very big strategic thinker, having an incredible, the ability to kind of get concepts documented in paper. It's been such a pleasure working with you. But I kind of, this is really showcasing, but also a platform to encourage the new leaders to come on to GSA. So talk to me a little bit about, these words like governance and strategic management and all that. When you started your journey, how was that journey? What led you to this council role, and where did you start it? Were you always like a child who was a born leader, or did you go for leadership course, or just it was your interest? What was it?
Well, it's interesting, Rachna, because I think prior to my master's, I was definitely not someone who I would consider as a leader. A lot of the time I had a perception that the leader was the loudest person in the room, or was quite popular, or was very extroverted. But it was actually through the LEAD program that I did in 2018. So I was part of the pilot program that I learned a lot more about leadership and actually understood that that is not the case. And I think from there it kind of led me to understand what my values are. And I realized that I really enjoyed student life. And I think that's what kind of put me into counselling itself, so that leadership value of being a part of student life and representing that. And then from there, that's, I guess, where my leadership experience propelled a lot more. So from starting at GSA. So no, I didn't think from a childhood age that that was my goal, but I think the experience has definitely helped me work out what type of leader I am, and also the skills that I'm good at, and also where I can improve and better kind of engage with. So in the future, perhaps I can think about where I can take leadership away from university.
Yeah, fantastic. So, I mean, it's a really good message to people who are listening to the program. We're not talking about, when we talk about a leader, we're not talking about a person who can be the loudest, or it's about, I think, some of the skills that I observe as a CEO in some of our council membership is the ability to listen, and the ability to understand others, the ability to see it from another person's perspective. And I think the LEAD program, which we'll talk a little more about into the program, it highlights that it's about actually, as Sasha said, looking at your values and saying, what are you passionate about? Because inside everyone, there is a leader, a person who decides, each of us lead our life. And that's the word we call ourselves as leaders, because we do have that concept of it. So if you were to summarize 3 rewarding, I mean, you've talked about your role with graduate leaders, graduate groups. You've talked about the work that you do in the policy platform. You've spoken about governance. You've spoken, and in your student life as a leader, what did you think was the most rewarding? Like, a couple of things that was really rewarding in the roles, whether it was the GSA Council or whether when you were a part of grad groups.
I think one different highlight was definitely grad groups. I believe they are really important communities, student communities, that will engage with particular members on their interests. So I think being a part of, in this case, a public policy graduate group in 2019 was a really rewarding experience and helped me connect student life with my course in this case. And I found that really, really valuable. Like, I gained a lot of friendships and a lot of networks. The second main highlight, I think obviously grad groups obviously are well connected with GSA. And the second highlight was probably actually going to GSA big events and grad group related events. I found that was a really great way to meet other grad students that I otherwise wouldn't, and to talk about their experiences and how they feel about university. It's almost like consultation, but in a very casual way. And I think it's a very good way of understanding the issues, but also what's working well and what isn't right now in student life. So I found just the events itself was really fantastic. And I always love seeing grad students enjoying their time with GSA wherever we can provide. the third highlight would probably be meeting grad reps and grad students who wanted to meet with me individually. So throughout the year, I would get emails or messages saying they'd like to chat with me, whether this was a grad group leader or a grad student with a really great idea. It was really great that they wanted to reach out to us in council and to chat about their ideas and see what council can do about it. So I think all those three aspects really shown out to me in the last year. And I think, of course, all of that leads back to being part of the council group and being able to work collaboratively and in a really respectful and great manner with each councillor. So those are probably my three highlights from the experience.
Thank you so much. I think as we talked about it, one of the things is that, I think even in my own tenure, that role of governance is, it's new, it's challenging, it's trying to find a balance that's there. What has been some of the challenges for you to govern an organization and also to recognize your responsibility, but also your limitations?
Yeah, I think so. Being a student and then being put into a role where there's governance was very, I think, confronting at the start of the leadership experience, which I presume is normal for most. I think it was a lot of just being able to train ourselves to understand governance terms and understand more from an organizational perspective rather than the student perspective in that type of role, and understanding more of a high level overview of the organization, and in many ways thinking about things like risks and limits and profits and things like that, which is something I wasn't used to at the very start. But I think by being with GSA and being able to understand these terms more, and I'm sure many other councillors were able to grow our understanding and be better at it. I think, though, one thing that's important is that we learn how governance, for example, creating a policy platform which determines council's stances on particular issues is important for representation. There is a direct, I think, flow between governance and representation, and it's quite important. So I think, that's kind of my take on governance. And I think, of course, having a public policy background has helped understand this also. But I think for any student who wants to be engaged in governance, it's a really good experience, whether you're a law student or a public policy student or from engineering or the cultural arts. It's something that gives you experience in understanding the overall picture of an organisation, which I think is very different in some aspects. They're very, very valuable.
Fantastic. So I think I know you have to jump on to another class before we finish this. So if I were to ask you, I think we're looking at 6 to 7 weeks where a few more weeks where you would graduate and you'd be in I call it the real world. I'm sure you're definitely in the real world now too. Is what skills and knowledge did your program, your lead as well as your time at GSA, if you were to look at 2 skills and 2 knowledges that you carry forward? And my plug-in to everyone out there is, Sash would be an absolutely amazing person to have on a member of a community organization or a governance board, because I think she brings in that high level understanding of how the consultation from representatives, the casual chats, the understanding of the diversity in our community, personalities can all be kind of incorporated and embedded in running a very smooth organization by setting proper strategic plans and policies. So, Sash, can you talk to me about 2 skills and 2 knowledge base that you're taking forward into your life?
Okay, yeah. So 2 skills that I would take forward from this experience. One was probably stakeholder engagement. And that may sound like a very kind of high level thing that only happens between people in offices, but stakeholder engagement involves being involved with, of course, the university, but also grad reps, staff. I consider them also important engagement. Internal stakeholder engagement. So I think being able to talk to different people and to be able to provide that input and to understand their interests with the GSA was a really good skill that I utilised and learned. The other skill I think was things like negotiation is an important skill. So negotiating with council about what our ideas are, or being in council meetings and chatting about our different opinions, negotiating on plans that we think should happen, things like that. That's a very difficult skill to get, but I think council experience allowed me to explore that a bit more and to do that in a very safe and open space, which is really great. Two knowledge bases would probably firstly understanding policy. I'm not surprised that I got that from this experience. So understanding how policy is in the kind of the first step. So how do we kind of develop our ideas and to kind of write that out into a statement. I think that is something that we've been able to do, which I'm not surprised because GSA is a union. So having experience in developing policy stances is really great. And then the last, I think, knowledge base is probably university. So the experience of students at university. So prior to GSA, I probably didn't know a lot about all the issues that were happening with grad students, but after this experience, I've been able to develop a better understanding of the student experience, not just within university, but when you think about it in terms of mental health, in terms of housing, in terms of things that happen outside the uni. So I think when we finish uni, this is the type of knowledge that we want to continue knowing about, because we never know where our future employment or careers could take us, and where we realise that there are correlations between grad students and other aspects of life. So I think that's the second knowledge skill that I gained. But yeah, other than that, a really, really brilliant experience.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sash, for your time. And on behalf of GSA, and particularly as a CEO of the organization, it's just been an absolute pleasure working with you. And of course, it would be very sad to see you leave the council, but I am absolutely sure that your skill and your knowledge and your message into the community of advocacy will take you a long way, and the community a long way, progressing great ideas. So thank you so much. And we do value your participation in this session.
No worries. Thank you so much, Rachna. And thank you very much to GSA for the experience. I look forward to the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily, for joining us. And Emily Roberts is the GSA's council president. And I think I have had a fantastic experience being led by a president who, has inducted me to the organization, been there every moment of the way, providing me the knowledge, the confidence of things falling down, and assuring me things can, rejuvenate within seconds. So it's been fantastic. So Emily, really, thank you so much for joining today. We'd really love to share with you, just a little bit about what your role entails at GSA. And then we'll go back a little bit of memory lane and explore how this leader was born. I feel like I'm kind of doing a presidential, candidate discovery. So tell us a little bit about your GSA role.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Rachna. So my role as president of GSA means that I am often the spokesperson for the organisation. I sit on academic board, I chair GSA meetings, and I am often the first port of call for lots of key figures at the university when it comes to organising meetings and having discussions and raising issues that are important to graduate students. Prior to that, I was the General Secretary, and before that I was an Executive Councillor, and then I had a few months as a General Councillor.
So that sounds like you have spent a considerable time at GSA, putting your footprints all around, discovering the organization before you jumped on to being a GSA president, right?
Definitely. I would say that's really one of the most important things with any organisation like GSA, that you spend some time working out the strengths and weaknesses of the organisation, and if that feels like a place where you can actually contribute meaningfully. For me, it was really important that I had that time as a general counsellor before moving into the executive role, and eventually becoming president that's the best preparation for a role like being president, is to have done other roles within the organisation. Because you learn not only what other people's presidential styles are like, you also learn what you want to be and where you see the organisation going, as well as understand more of the challenges, as well as appreciate the strengths.
Fantastic. So, I mean, I think what I have understood, working with you, it's unlike being the chairperson of any other organization. The value that this organization has in its leadership is it's the lived experience. It is the understanding of the passion for student life, the passion for being in a university setting, the passion for others, being selfless, and it's not putting yourself first. So I think that's what some of the stunning kind of learning for me at as a CEO has been, to see 15 of you working with staff, where that, the concept of I'm going to be selfless and I'm going to actually learn to disagree. I'm going to actually put my needs last, or I'm going to bring my own needs and advocate for a cause that's there. So talk us a little bit of, and as I did with Sash, Emily, I just wanted to know, when does that realization come for someone? Like, were you one of those kids, who grew up where you had a group of young people, people playing at school, and you became an automatic leader? Or like in your family, you are at a restaurant and you're the leader who decides who eats what? Is it like you're born a leader, or did this journey of leadership be an exploration for you? So if you were to kind of inspire people who are looking at leadership, how do they realize, hey, I'm ready, or I'm prepared to take this challenge?
For me, it's definitely a mixture of nurture and nature here. I was a bossy little child who always knew her own opinion, and I'm very grateful that my parents nurtured that where appropriate. And I had some really positive experiences with my early schooling that helped me to develop in a more confident way, as well as to understand better a lot of things about empathy and to really learn more about emotional intelligence, which I believe is at the core of a lot of leadership skills. With GSA, a lot of it is about sacrifice. And I think whenever you're stepping into a student leadership role, you have to be aware of the other things that you are choosing to give up in order to do this well. And I'm so lucky to be able to do that. Yes, my role is far more than being the chair of the board of directors. It's about learning all these governance things, which is often a challenge when you're a full-time student as well. But it's also about doing a whole lot of representation things, talking to graduate students, attending events, going to important meetings, learning how to have that own confidence in yourself, so as you can walk into a meeting room full of senior academics at the university and actually still make a point in a way that they'll listen to you and get the message across.
Yeah, I think that's really important to understand for people, who take up leadership and who are born leaders, that, there's nothing to feel ashamed if you are a strong advocate, or you've been able to articulate and as a child and come up, wanted to be the school leader. It's a great platform to be the voice of other people. And there's being a boss, I think we sometimes look at a boss and have that negative connotation. If it's done in a respectful manner, I think it's good to have these voices who can articulate for other people. So I've always found you a good nurturer. I found yourself to be a good negotiator. I think also the understanding that being able to reflect and being able to agree to disagree, or to put up your hands and say, hey, we've not got it right, is also a very big skill. So I think you were a participant of the LEAD program in 2018, isn't it, Emily? And
I was the lead host.
Oh, you were the lead host. And what was that journey for you? What did it bring out for you in that program?
For me, it was a really wonderful experience. Getting to know everyone at Lead was probably one of the most important parts. I got to meet these other passionate people. We may have had different areas that our passion was taking us, but seeing how these other amazing graduate students were looking to channel the drive that they had was really exciting every time we had a session. My Lead journey very much mirrors my GSA journey. I just started at GSA in the executive role when I became a Lead host. And then by the end of it, I was, I think, a week or two after the Lead end of graduation ceremony was when I became General Secretary. It really helped me to elevate my leadership skills in a practical way, to do things like reflective journaling, to learn about team building skills in a way that was not just, oh yes, we want you guys to bond as a team, but actually, how do teams work? How could you replicate this with other teams? What are the core things that will encourage good team building? As well as to understand negotiating, and we had a empathy training session that taught me skills they still use now.
That sounds really, I mean, I think coming back to what Lead does is, I think I always believe that in every person, as we grow from a young person into a teenager and an adult, and as we grow on in life, you have to have an ability to lead your life. And that self-decision is, there is a leader in all of us, okay? Sometimes we take good decisions. Sometimes we depend on other people to help us take the decisions. Sometimes we take wrong decisions. But I think that we are the fabric of our community, and each of us is valued, and the empathy. And I think those are really amazing skills in leaders, because I think what I've learned at GSA is the one size does not fit all. And 15 of you are different. And the leader's role is actually to draw on the strength of 15 people as the president and try to forge people forward, and also learn to let go sometimes. Like you may think of a particular plan and a particular goal, and somewhere along the line, somebody may decide to leave you or somebody may join you, and you have to keep readjusting yourself accordingly. So from that aspect of life that is there, what has been the most rewarding for you, Emily? I know you have another 6 months or to the end of the year of your tenure, but if you reflect back, you've played such an enormous role in taking GSA in the last 14 months through a change of a strategic plan, a 25th year ceremony, shift of a new CEO, some turbulence and turmoils through the COVID and changes. What's been really the most rewarding for you during this period of time?
The most rewarding things are not always the big things.
Yeah.
For me, it's the moment after an event or an activity, or when something's been completed, like the strategic plan, where you look back and you see those that are still around, mingling, having fun. That's the moment that, to me, keeps me going. There was for me, a really powerful one was after the ball. There had been so many people involved in the organisation of the graduate ball last year.
Yeah.
So many who'd worked together to create this truly magical event. And seeing at the end, as people were walking up this staircase, exiting, laughing, having fun. Someone had had way too much to drink and was in the bathroom, and the people were going out into taxis and talking about, oh, what can we do now? it was such a beautiful moment of just life around you, the good and the bad, and seeing that this event had brought so many people together was really beautiful for me.
Yeah. So for you, anything is, something getting a life and something being executed, and then seeing the positive energy that comes out of that event and being able to take people along in that journey, leaving behind pleasant memories, I think is truly rewarding. And I think it's not just about what's in the moment, but it's actually what comes out of that moment, isn't it? I'm sure during this period of time, any leader, I'm sure it wouldn't be hard to say during COVID-19, the whole world has experienced challenge. That would be an understatement. But as a leader, what were one or two of those challenges that you thought, wow, that was a big challenge, and I actually didn't know anything, and then I've kind of learned something out of it? What was that? Would you like to share without, going too much into details, but anything that you stands out for you as challenges?
For me, the very concept of doing an entire meeting with council over Zoom, attending academic board and these meetings digitally terrified me at first.
Yeah.
I am very much a people person, as you might have gathered. I love shaking hands, looking people in the eye, following body language wherever I can. So that's been a serious challenge for me, and I didn't think it would be possible, but actually it's worked surprisingly well. My expectations were very low at the start.
Yeah.
So that's certainly helped. I think COVID-19 has made me appreciate these small things. Yeah. I can't wait till the next time I get to give someone a handshake. And those sort of human contacts and things that, while they might not be productive in terms of getting things done, they make what you're doing more enriching.
Yeah.
That's really been my biggest COVID-19 challenge, just not believing that things were going to be as feasible.
Yeah. That's true. I think the importance of the community, the importance of being around people, the importance of actually understanding the importance of the emotion and the face-to-face conversation. We try and say, oh, I want to have me time, or I want to kind of be, I always think about, we talked about social isolation only for people who may have an issue about, related to domestic violence or refugees or other contact, about social isolation. But I think we truly learn to admire what the impact of, isolation means, and the importance of social connection. So that's wonderful. So I think, Emily, thank you so much for your time. It's actually been, a great, I think a great opportunity for people who are aspiring to take leadership further and to kind of explore the LEAD program, to consider these journeys and the outcome of it. So if you were to look at two skill sets that you feel as in your journey of leadership that you would say you would like to highlight, what would that be? What would the two skill set that you think is something that you've picked up along the way, and you kind of can't say mastered, but you kind of recognize the importance of it? What would those two be?
I definitely haven't mastered either of these, but the two that comes to my mind straight away is empathy and the ability to think on your feet. Often you do not know what's going to happen, so the ability to think quickly, make it up, and have the confidence to just keep going with whatever it is that's happening is invaluable in pretty much any leadership situation. The second is empathy, because it's the ability to work well with others, to understand where they might be coming from, and to really put yourself in their shoes, which helps get everything running smoother most of the time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Emily. And I think we have Eliza, who very recently in 2019 was a part of the LEAD program and is the current GSA's Women's Officer. So welcome on board, Eliza, and thank you for waiting very patiently over the last half an hour. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about your role at GSA and your journey to this role, over the last few months or years you've been involved with GSA?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Eliza, the Women's Officer at GSA. So that means that I sit on council with a lens that's focused on how we are governed and the events we run, how that works for women identifying students and ensuring that they in particular are supported. And my time on GSA has actually been quite brief comparatively to Emily and Sasha. I have been elected at the end of last year for a casual vacancy, and prior to that probably wouldn't have considered going for the position if it weren't for my involvement in the GSA LEAD program. So like Sash, I was involved in the pilot trial a couple of years ago, and Emily was actually my coach as well. And since then, I returned to the second round of the program as a coach like Emily to give back and to support students on their own leadership journey. And I think that's when I caught the bug for giving back to the community in as many ways as I could. And that's why, with the support of people like Emily, I decided to go for the casual vacancy at the end of last year and haven't looked back since.
Fantastic, Eliza, and it's been an absolute honor working with you on issues that are related particularly for women at the Graduate Student Association. So I am going to ask you what I've asked Sash and Emily. I appreciate your sentence where you were saying that, you went through the LEAD program. LEAD was always about reflecting. It's about actually discovering each person's leadership style. It's about exploring what the sum totality of a group of people means compared to an individual. The courage to discover yourself, the courage to actually be able to recognize an area that you want to work on, the courage to excel on the area that you're working really well in, the courage to listen, the courage to let go. So, leadership is about all that, what you want to make up in your life and what you want that fabric to be. So talk to me a little bit about your early discovery as a young person in a leadership role, or in your journey in your PhD program, or where in that element is that leadership where you felt, oh, I do have some ideas that I want to become a leader, and what was that journey for you?
Yeah, it was an interesting journey, and I feel like the most transformative parts happened quite recently in my lifetime. As a kid and a young adult, I never really felt, for want of a better phrase, that it was my place to be a leader. I was always told by other people that I should be, because I was quite, I was considered mature for my age as a kid, and I was well-spoken, and I'd, done speeches in front of the school before for various things, and people kept saying, oh, Eliza, you'd be great for this school captaincy position and so on. And I didn't actually take up that many opportunities. Yeah. And I remember in year 12, in our final yearbook, we had, who's most likely to, cure cancer, or, be a garbage man, or, that kind of thing. And they put me down for most likely to be a world leader. And that was probably a pretty key moment where I went, oh, okay, this is a thing people see me as, but I don't see myself as. What's going on there? And I didn't give it much thought for a while. I ended up, diving deep into university studies and not really giving it a second thought. And then when I signed up for the first LEAD program, which was on a whim after a suggestion from a friend, I think that was the moment when I started to do a lot of that self-reflection and realize the qualities I had and the value they had, and that I needed to work out a way to bring them into a community and give back and get involved, because that's something I hadn't done. And it felt like I wasn't practicing what I was preaching by doing that. You know, I had a lot of good values, and I believed that things should happen in a certain way so that everyone is treated fairly and gets equal opportunity, but I'd never actually taken much action to address that. So it was definitely Lead that started that thought process in my head about getting involved in leadership.
And how has that learning from Lead kind of transformed into your governance role? You know, you've been in a governance role in the last few months, and more so played very proactive role now in the space of your portfolio. And would you like to share some of that learning how that kind of has developed further?
Yeah, it's certainly been a baptism by fire. I've learnt a lot very quickly, and I think that was a skill in itself, learning to adapt at such a rapid rate. And with the whole COVID-19 situation, also learning to readjust expectations quite quickly has been a big thing for me. But I've really been enjoying over the last few months getting involved in the different kinds of work that GSA is doing, particularly the representation side, which obviously as a women's officer is a key element of my role. But it's the first time I felt like I've actually contributed to giving feedback to the broader university about what the graduate student perspective is and what graduate students have told me they want. And I've really enjoyed that through things like working on the Respect Task Force and speaking at the International Women's Day event for GSA. They've all been great opportunities to speak to graduate students, and a really diverse range of grad students, which really broadens your perspective on things and has made this time really valuable, because I think moving forward, even when I won't be involved in GSA anymore, I'll be able to take that mindset, that listening, empathetic mindset out and actually go into the community and work out, you know, wherever I'm working, what other people think, rather than just presuming, you know, my thoughts are the best ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's been a short period working with you, but I think my observation, Eliza, is that your ability to be such a strong advocate and represent a large portfolio and be able to learn and grow and be a strong advocate is such great values that at GSA we've really deeply appreciated. And I want to ask you one thing. You know, I keep talking about leaders who are selfless. And so being a woman, it's so different for everyone, isn't it? It's so different. How do you then what has been that journey of, oh, I don't experience what you experience, but I hear from you and I want to advocate? How is that transition for you?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting one. And I think a key lesson has been to understand that I will never satisfy and address everyone's needs. There's always going to be someone who expresses, disappointment or a negative emotion, despite the amount of hours you've dedicated to going through the community and getting their feedback, or the amount of hours you spent umming and ahhing over a policy or a statement or whatever it is. So I think it's been a big challenge learning to accept that, because it's in my nature and a lot of females' nature to be quite a people pleaser. And you've sort of got to bring that back a bit when you're in a leadership position. Otherwise, your mental health just deteriorates and you can't fulfill the role to the best of your abilities.
Yeah, and I think that you really spoke so true, because I think a leader is someone we need to really, really be. When you aspire is, I always, a lonely in the top or not the popular person, is that to be a fearless advocate, you have to recognize that, while you advocate, you may please people, but you also are going to not please people, but to be comfortable in your thoughts and your values is so important. And actually that is an incredible skill. And for a young person, I think it's far more challenging. So coming to, I think you've spoken so highly about your reward and some of your challenges that you've had. I mean, I think it would be very inappropriate for me to not mention that, please go and have a absolute, it's an absolute delight to listen to Eliza on the International Women's Day video that we have on our website. But also over the last few weeks, we've had some challenges in our own environment about sexual harassment, and Eliza has been able to work with Emily and the other council members to advocate on a strong value about how at GSA we do have a very, very strong value of safety, and that we do condemn sexual harassment and sexual misconduct in our community. So that must have been quite daunting for you, Eliza. And how was that campaign that, as it unfolded for you, what did it kind of evoke emotions for you?
Yeah, it's been an intense and ever-changing campaign. And I've learnt a lot from that experience. Of course, it's a heavy topic. And so when you spend a lot of your time speaking to survivors or working in the policy arena in this area, including talking to the broader university and other student organisations, it is a lot. And I think it's really important as any kind of leader or any person in general to have a group of people around you who are aware of the work you're doing and have an understanding so that you can talk to them and support each other. Like, I've really valued our chats, Rachna, through this all, because I know it's a space you're very interested in as well. And I feel like together we bounce ideas off each other a lot and unwind together and get through policy development in a really constructive way. And I think in an area like this, that's one of the most important things, is to make sure that rather than operating from, it's easy to operate from a disposition of, outrage and we need to fix this now and, hit the ground running and really point out the people doing the wrong thing at the moment. But I think we've got a really good approach at GSA in that everything we do, not just the respect field, we have a very constructive and mature disposition and work really closely with a lot of stakeholders in a very sensitive space, ensuring that we maintain a good relationship with them, but we also make progress and that we don't just end up being advisors, tokenistic advisors.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eliza, for your wisdom. And, Eliza would be another council member who will be finishing her term in a few weeks or in a couple of months. And I think one incredible value that she has spoken about is that, there is always a beginning in leadership. And I think you don't, I always advocate that everybody has a strength within them, and it's just about pausing to kind of look at your own strength and explore it and help it develop and help it blossom. And that's what life is about. And so I am so grateful to Sach, Emily, and Eliza to come and share this incredible journey of their leadership. I myself, as a CEO who works with three of them very closely, I think it's incredible how I've grown myself as a person, learning from your values and reflecting on, my own style and being able to reflect on my own practice. So I thank you and value, the contribution that you've provided in my own journey as a leader. And thank you so much for your time. So we will be talking to Tevita very soon about the LEAD program. And we will have a follow-up session in a couple of weeks to announce the rollout of our LEAD 2020 program. So it's going to be an exciting space. So thank you so much. So welcome Tevita Lesuma, our General Manager for Student Partnership and Strategic Engagement. Actually, I got that wrong. It's Student Engagement and Strategic Partnership. Sorry, Tevita. So Tevita has been instrumental in playing a key role in the establishment phase of LEAD 18 and also in the rollout of the LEAD 19 program, and can provide a bit of insight of our thoughts into LEAD 20. So LEAD is a GSA's flagship leadership development program. It's a program that is defined as challenging, a high impact program that allows graduates at the University of Melbourne to explore themselves their leadership skills beyond the academic realm. So the LEAD program has been funded by the University of Melbourne. It's an innovative program. We've had 2 consecutive years where we've run the program and had more than about 100 participants who've been a part of this program. I'd like to thank the previous CEO, Andrew Cameron, for taking the initiative and for rolling or establishing the program. It's been a program that was selective, it was competitive. It also means participants have to commit time. They have the energy and the willpower to take you, to start and complete the program. And you start the program quite undecided, but then after that, it's a program that allows you to establish your goals. It's a program that allows you to be supported through proper facilitation and coaching to get, to where your goals are or set new goals along the way. And it is really meant for people who have the time, commitment, and energy to explore that leadership skills. So Tevita, welcome on board. And I was wondering, tell me a little bit about LEAD 2018 and what was your role and observation?
Yeah, hi Rachna. Thanks for having me. So LEAD 2018, it was a pilot program that we started to see what were the capacity and the interest in our graduate students taking up this. It's a challenge. So my role essentially was to help with a steering committee. So we had program directors and facilitators, and I was asked to come in a bit later just to reevaluate how the program was tracking in terms of reaching our goals. It was an interesting program. Being a pilot, it was definitely a lot of learnings because we hadn't done anything like this before. And for us, we wanted to design a program that provided an avenue for students to grow, not just academically, but within their own leadership sort of style, and maybe break down those myths around what is a leader. And so, that was a really interesting time. So the program ran for about 3 or 4 months. It facilitated very different students, which was fantastic. It allowed the students to learn off each other. And so we were very proud of the outcomes of 2018 and that led us to seek funding for another version of the program in 19, which was a bit more in-depth, if you like.
Yeah, and 2019 was, funded by the university, and we're very grateful to have that funding. And Tevita, it was a program that had, a lot more ability to explore further. There were lots of retreats, lots of coaching sessions. Can you lead us a little bit about what was LEAD 2019 different from 2018?
Yeah, so in terms of, you talked about it before, time commitment. So in 19, we asked a lot more of the students. So that being time away from their families, time away from their studies, a lot of long days. So it was still around the same 3-month mark, but more content was delivered as well as it was a bit more intensive. So we we had structured seminars, we had workshops, we had retreats, so 1 night or 2 night retreats away outside of Melbourne to facilitate the workshops and some of the leadership program. And we also facilitated coaching sessions in the background. So every other week, the group, a number of participants would meet with a coach, so someone who had some training in coaching and helping them understand the content that they'd been exposed to in the previous weeks before that, and build almost like a mini network within themselves to support each other. And so that was slightly different than 18, is where we had coaching sessions, but they weren't as facilitated or as directed as they were for 19. I think the big steps, or the learnings almost from 18 to 19, is that we found out that students still needed that extra support after the sessions, and what that looked like, it depended on the group. And so for us, we went a step higher, definitely in 19, to provide this space that was facilitated and content driven. And then, so I guess it was almost two spectrums. We had a sort of light touch, medium touch on 219, and then we sort of had a heavy touch in 19 to support the students, and the timings were quite intense for the students. And so, yeah, for us, the 19 program was always about, look, it is a big commitment. We're putting it out there now. We would release the dates early. There will be times, will be late nights or early mornings. And so we were very clear from the start, but still we had an amazing turnout, over double the amount of intake from 18, which provided its own challenges, especially, you know, if you've got more people to help facilitate and arrange and make sure everyone gets to, you know, their learnings, provided us some of those challenges. But in essence, a bigger and more intensive program than 18.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think, you know, just to make people who are listening to the program understand that, you know, it was for graduates who had at least completed 1 year of study. It was actually focusing on people who may have not had opportunities to participate in leadership programs outside, you know, people who may have had barriers of socioeconomic issues that kind of did not support them to do that, and also to understand that culture and language diversity were some of the important factors that supported the development of different leaders. So, you know, those were some of the eligibility.
Absolutely.
And I think we focused a little bit on understanding, like if we were to look at some of the skills and the experience that people learned, we would say that people talked a lot about communication skills, Tevita, that they were found that people's communication skills developed. What were some of the other skills and experience that developed during that period of time?
So yeah, just to touch on communication, we always said that, you know, you don't always have to be the loudest. It's about people's communication skills improve, whether it be they're able to articulate what they were feeling or what they wanted more, or they were able to contribute without feeling that they were on the spot, or that it was something they didn't really want to do. So that was communication, but also building the confidence was another big part of the program, and that was linked to understanding their values that they had for each other. So their values about why they do things, or why other people do things, or think this way, or and I think that helps shape the leaders they want to be, versus the sort of soapbox leader that people sometimes come to these development programs with that preconception. But so it was sort of understanding themselves was a big part of the outcomes, and how they will coordinate or collaborate with others, especially if they're not from the same background or different values or ideals. So I think that was one of the big outcomes of learnings from 2019. I know it was incredible the change you would see in people about, you know, when they first came up, some were quite like staunch about their thoughts, and we didn't want to hear on other people's opinions really. And then slowly through the process, they would be asking the discussion question, not the question like, why would you think like that? It's more like, okay, let's talk to me about why you think that's really important. And so I think it changed their whole the whole way they interact with people in general, and also about how they want to be a leader in their own community.
That's fantastic. So I know that we have a lot of information about the LEAD program on our website and a very, very inspiring video from one of our participants on LEAD. So I'd encourage you to jump onto our GSA website, gsa@unimelb.edu.au, and look for the LEAD program. But I also wanted to let you know that we have had, we've been able to compare both the programs that we ran in 2018 and 2019, looked at our own organizational strategic plan and the values and our key objectives. And what we want to roll out on 2020 and the following year would be to articulate that the LEAD is a very important program, but it would be really focusing on, it has been, we do need to look at cost effectiveness and the ability to reach to more students. So we have found that the program that we've run in 2019 is something, it may be price restrictive because, with the kind of events that were held, it had some barriers of people who couldn't take family time and offer that time commitment. It was also a program which was restrictive for students who may have parental or carers responsibility. It also did not take into account that there are people who have got complex academic commitments. So I think what we are hoping to roll out in 2020 is determining those factors, being able to run shorter sessions, being able to also be able to look at some skills and attributes that people would like to selectively develop so that they can attend some progressive coaching sessions or work on those skills, but people who may actually want to go through the whole program, and so that it has the ability to reach more people. And currently in the COVID-19 situation and its aftermath of it, we may not be able to do all the activities that we had in the previous year. We may be restricted due to self-isolation and care for the community. So I am looking forward to making an announcement in June about what the program would be and the intake would be. But the program will commence. It will look very different, but it will also be combined within a volunteer development and a professional development program that will be led by Vibol. So thank you so much, Tevita, for your time. And what would be your last words of wisdom to people to consider this participating in the LEAD program?
For me, I would suggest or recommend that nobody passes up an opportunity if they can't, because it's programs like this. So in whatever version that we end up pulling together this year, especially this year, it was definitely provides opportunity or the ideas around opportunity for students. So whether it gives them the confidence or whether it gives them the networking, or it provides an avenue into potentially being part of student council one day. I think that was one of the big things that I got from the students, that they are so happy they signed up and took part, because every interaction, whether it be with the students, other fellow students or facilitators or council members or staff, it was all valuable to them. So I think for them, it created a long-lasting sort of benefit.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. And I encourage all graduates to take some time, get onto our website, read about the LEAD program, watch that very inspiring video, and talk to some of our council members or other participants of LEAD to understand the value of the program and its contribution to your personal and professional development. So thank you so much for your time, and I extend my appreciation for all the people who have been on the panel and supported me with this program.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rachna.